Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Strife's Sanctum podcast. My name is Citizen Strife, and this week I'm going to be talking about a sequel to a really good game. Wasn't as fondly remembered, but I still liked it. That being Bravely Second. I talked about Bravely Default before, and while I was back, I went and rewatched footage of Bravely Second, I'd say a few months ago, and I enjoyed it. And I think I enjoyed it pretty well, about the same as I did before, but, you know, the issues that exist in the game still exist. The good things about the game still exist as well. It does seem kind of strange that they didn't package Bravely Second into the Switch 2 lineup, but whatever. I'm guessing they just wanted to get Bravely Default out of there first, and then eventually they'll get Second on there. So, as far as things to talk about, I do want to mention it will be spoiler review. And this is going to be a little more off the cuff than usual. I've had pretty much 6 days a week, all week, just work. And I've been doing other things like voice acting stuff or doing the videos for the other YouTube channel and other things. So this, I might have way less prep time to work off. So I'm going mostly on memory this time. But again, I had recently rewatched it, so it shouldn't be too bad. But bear that in mind if I trail off or if I repeat things. It's more so that I didn't really have any time to get a primer out there. I'm actually recording this a day earlier than normal because, again, I'm trying to get more videos out there because I'm on vacation next week. So I need more time for the gameplay stuff. So, again, just word of warning if I trail off into weird stuff. But a couple of years set after the end of Bravely Default, they go after Agnes basically becomes Pope. Adia, or Idia, as they call her in the second game. I don't know why they switched it. I think they went from ideally to Italy, or really, I don't know. It's some weird naming convention they go with, but Ideally. Maybe they just didn't want to go with Idia. I don't know, but whatever. Idia joins and basically takes over for her father in the duchy, as was planned, and Tiz, well, didn't make it. Ring-a-Bell went off and did his own thing. So, they had to find 2 new characters. But they found, let me see if I would put this properly. One is a good change. Yeah, there's not so much. Let's get the not good out of the way. I want to say I like Eugenie Olja, but I don't. And he's just a nerd. Not even in the sense that, like, Tiz is a bit of a nerd. Tiz is a blank slate. He just exists as a slice of bread. He's not interesting. He's a goof in that sense, but he's harmless. You is earnest and kind and all that jazz, and it's just for the gravy, and it's like, what the fuck is gravy? I never have figured that one out. I guess they mentioned it maybe in one of the asides, but his whole gimmick is for the gravy, and it's like, that's his catchphrase. I'm like, you moron. But anyway, he is the self-appointed leader of the Crystal Guard. He's joined by a couple of guys who instantly betray him early in the game, because of course they fucking do. And, well, that doesn't work out well for him. But while he's basically licking his wounds, he finds upon this woman speaking French. It's basically moon language, but they go with French. And she's the balance point. She's the great point of this. And that's why I kind of like this game. I get why people may not like Bravely Second, and there are good reasons. But Magnolia Arch is great. And it works great. And I also do kind of like that she just instantly falls for him and he instantly falls for her and it becomes a thing. And the game doesn't question it. And Idia doesn't question it. Nanyes doesn't question it. It's just like, they're together. Of course they are. Go with it. And it's like, oh, okay, sure. And it's not like instant, but it is essentially an instant karma thing. It's just like, they work. Magnolia is very brazen, but stylish, and a ball buster. And yes, that's the term they use. Her idea is that she's part of a moon defense force, task force that basically destroys these gigantic things that are destroying the planet. They're called balls. BA''AL, but ball. And yes, the game, because it is goofy, spares no expense. It will mention balls whenever it gets a chance. That's the joke. And it's fine for what it is. They don't overdo it. It doesn't overstay its welcome. It's more that, like, Magnolia is a breath of fresh air, considering outside of Idia, there isn't really a lot of, like, oh my god, these people are amazing, you know. And to be fair, I wasn't really a fan of Ring a Bell in the first game. I know that seems like sacrilege, you know. Some people probably like, I mean, it's not like the Balthier thing where everybody likes Balthier, you know. Ring a Bell is just incorrigible and a louse and a dumbass, but he's suave about it. So I don't know if his popularity is such. I think people like Idia more, if I was to guess, but still, it's like, I don't like Ring a Bell, and it's just you know. So trading Ring a Bell for Magnolia is a step up. Trading Tiz for you is a step down, but there's a reason for that, because Ring a Bell is replaced by Tiz. So yeah, Agnes isn't in the party, but Idia is. They join up, so they need a party member, and they find Tiz is in this like Eternian tank of goop, and it's basically like, we need you to survive and whatever. So they use like time manipulation mechanics or some weird thing, and they revive him a little later. So now he joins the party. So all the bravely default and bravely second stuff can begin in proper, in earnest. The goal is almost all of them got destroyed by a person known as the Kaiser and a fairy known as Anne. So, of course, there's gonna be an issue with that, because we already know that fairies are assholes. So, of course, that rears its head in this game. But the Kaiser is told, hey, I'm going to grab this compass of space and time. So he gets this, like, gigantic, just floating landmass known as the Skyhold. And I got distracted by dogs. Dogs were barking for a second. Anyway. So Kaiser has the Skyhold, and he has his friends from the Crystal Guard who basically just noped out of Yu's employ and service and said, no, we'll join him instead. So they send people, they just keep sending people and people and people after Idia and Yu and Tiz and whatnot, because Agnes has been captured. The group is trying to get her back, but also stop the Kaiser. They don't know how. They don't know what he's trying to do, but eventually they learn this compass of space and time is a big fucking deal. But they're also getting accosted by different manner of enemies, because this game introduces different job classes and asterisks from before. They have a wizard who, you know, uses basically dolls, essentially, or speaks through dolls. She's a little creepy. You've got a chariot. I believe they call it the charioteer, who's basically just, I have weapon proficiency, and they get stronger, and I do multiple attacks, and go. And other ones like a Hawkeye or sharpshooter, which uses guns to shoot things, which is kind of neat. One of the weirder ones, I mean, they do have some weird ones. The weirdest one I remember, not mechanically, but just presentation-wise, was the Patissier. A dude who brainwashes people via cake or pastry. So in battle, what that essentially amounts to is debuffing characters by throwing pies at them. Okay. We whip up a pie in 2 seconds and we throw it at a thing, and now they have less defense. Okay. It's effective, it's fine. Then there's another one where it's like this guy can reverse time and reverse turns, so basically whatever happened didn't. And then he can like alter his HP and MP based on that. Then there's another one who's like this crazy armor thing, this like revenant. You know, there's a lot of cool shit that they come up with because they have these new jobs that they do. One of the other ones I really liked was Astrologian. So they basically use like astrology and the moon and the whatever as a theme device for a lot of either attack spells or more likely boons in your stats. So not only do you have the old standbys from the first game, you know, Thief, White Mage, Red Mage, Profiteer, all that cool shit, and they come back, but you add in these other ones, and you get like 30 different options. So if you thought having fun with the battle system in the first game, you just add more stuff on top of that, and you're just like, this game is basically Final Fantasy V on steroids. There's so many weird things and combinations you can do, and you're asked to do so to have any chance of beating bosses. The drawback isn't so much from the main story, though I do think it does drag a bit, like towards the end point, because they're trying to introduce that like Kaiser is actually related to you in some way, or that lo and behold, oh my god, a fairy, she was evil all along, and there was a second evil demon as opposed to the first giant evil demon in the first game. And the theming of the game at least doesn't suffer like the first game did, because the first game just repeated the timeline over and over, so you fight bosses over and over again. The way they do it this time is they stop time, and everything is just basically monochrome and just dead and fucked. Kind of how time compression should have been, to be honest. Like, I bet time compression would have been a lot more effective in Final Fantasy VIII if it had actually led to, hey, everybody's fucking dead. Or, if nothing else, everything's all black and blood and... You know, they could have went further, but still, I think this game was trying to be a teen-rated game, so it wasn't trying to be too graphic. But, yeah. So yeah, it's all monochrome and shit. Now what do we gotta do? We gotta find a way back around it, and we gotta defeat this thing called Providence, and then we find all this stuff. But you gotta go and find this gigantic boat that is a hot springs that is also a town. For reasons. Yes, you find a town early in the game, a Japanese town. I think it's Unohana is the name. And it's awesome because I love Japanese aesthetics in video games that are made from Japan. Of course, I'm dumb that way. And so I'm a sucker for that shit, but they really overdo the whole hot springs aspect, and it's very goofy. The lead guy, the king or whatever, is like doing all these bathtub puns and cleaning puns and shit, and it's really stupid, you know, because that's the kind of game this is. Again, it's very goofy, but, you know, you get past that, and you get to that, and then you find out that this whole fucking floating city can turn into an airship, because part of his revival has been created by this character known as Altair, the man with the purple pen, or something like that, and he knows how to jerry-rig the Unohana town itself into being a flying machine. So it's essentially Balam Garden with a hot spring in it. That's actually kind of neat, you know. But of course, I mean, it's a hot spring scene. Yeah, of course. I was thinking they forgot it. But no, of course they didn't forget it. They didn't forget the cardinal rule of anime and whatever in hot spring scenes. You gotta include the fucking hot spring scene with them peeking at people. Of course. But whatever. I forget if that was in the first game too, but whatever. Fuck. You can tell I've seen it enough to know that it probably did happen, even if I'm making a mistake. But anyway, they take their flying rub-a-dub hot spring village flying garden, whatever, and they go after the Skyhold. And again, they go through it the first time, and they go through it the second time in the monochrome world. The thing about it is that while they're going about doing the Skyhold business and going through the main story, the second part of the game, which, to be fair, is the weaker part of the game, and one that people don't really like, and I agree, rears its head. And it has to do with moral choice, or lack thereof. The main way you get your other older jobs back, thief, white mage, monk, whatever, all those, is you have this series of events. So your side quests are marked as events, where something is happening, and there's a moral dilemma that is involved. And I'll give you an example. There's one where you're in Florida, and this one is a weaker example, but I'll keep going for other examples later. But there's one where you're in Florida, and they're trying to decide if they want a co-ed school or segregated schools. So they make a big deal out of it, and then Barris Lair and Einherja show up, as basically Einherja is on the side of not cohabitating, and then Barris Lair being a fucking weirdo and everything's great, I'm a punch everything. He's a monk. Of course he would be on the side of letting men and women duke it out and have fun and just be together and the scent of love and all that and jazz and shit. But then as they're doing it, they don't even believe anything they're talking about, because they're basically like proxies for the actual main characters in the side quest. It's like, that's what you meant for me to say, right? Whatever, sure, I'll do it. So you're already not getting any stakes from that. That's why I'm going to use another example later. But essentially, like, you have to decide, or Idia, being the Grand Marshal's daughter, essentially, and the celebrity, she has to go and decide, okay, I'll make up the decision and the whatever. But what it ends up boiling down to, there are several different mistakes being made. The game will tell you flat out that you're fighting whomever you're aiming to get the asterisks from. So you're siding with a character more so to get the opposite's asterisks than rather actually agreeing with the thing. So if you decide that I'd rather be a monk than be a dragoon, though honestly dragoon is probably far better than monk, you have to fight the monk, and then you get the thing that says, okay, now the schools are whatever, and it's just like a goofy cutscene, and all's well that ends well, and it's dumb. Another one is, let's say a guy doesn't want to work a minimalist job, working himself to the bone, paying his dues. That was something that his teacher Kami Izumi taught him. So again, you already know it's samurai. Okay, so samurai asterisk, whatever, boom, we got it. So, or swordmaster is what they call it. But then Mephilia shows up, and she's the summoner. So she says, no, we're going to go summon this thing because it's a cool idea. So Idia has to go, okay, well, I either have to go against my master's teachings and tell this guy to go fuck off somewhere with this thing that may or may not even exist and do the thing, but he's off doing his thing, what he wants, because it doesn't matter. Or he does the thing and he fights for the thing for a while, and then he realizes that he can use his other part of his other, knowledge base and college degree and magic to better himself anyway. So it works out in the end regardless, and then you're just left with the summoner asterisk anyway. So that's one problem. By and large, nothing really happens, because any effect that is going to happen with these side quests is more down to which asterisk do you want over the other. a lot of the self-contained stories, in fact, all of them have no bearing on the gameplay themselves because there's no lasting impact other than, hey, I got this thing quicker. Let me get that thing quicker. And the moral choice doesn't really even add up because nothing is affected, or some of them are so dumb that they mean nothing. Because it's like, why do you care that a song from the sea, from the pirates of the whatever, gets turned into a pop song? Why should I give a shit? Just give me the pirate asterisk, or better yet, just give me the dancer's asterisk, because the dancer's asterisk is broke as fuck. But whatever, or the performer, excuse me. It's technically performer. But again, so that's the straw. That's a strong indicator that it's already a problem. But instead of making it a one-time deal and telling you, okay, you have to replay the game to get a second asterisk. Get the second options. Just try the second ones again, early. In that monochrome world or in that second timeline, you're actually allowed to go back and redo those, all of them, all of those side quests with all of those other asterisks. You get to fight the second ones again. So really, you're not even doing the moral choices. You're not even doing the asterisk choice. You're basically saying, of these two, which ones do I want early versus which ones can I sit and wait on? So realistically, you've nerfed any reason to want to care, because you're just going to pick the one you want to pick anyway, and then you're probably not going to pick the one you're going to pick anyway, because let's face it, if there's one you don't like, you're not going to use it because you have 10 or 15 other new ones that probably do just as well. And yes, maybe having one later in the game doesn't really matter because you could just level up faster anyway. But you're wasting time trying to figure out, okay, why do I give a shit about this moral choice system? Why do I trust or not trust people that tried to kill me in the first game? Why do I bother? Why do I care about their side stories? Some of them are nice, not letting Holly, have this these 2 or 3 people's house taken away because of some slimy ass provocateur, because he's a slimy son of a bitch, but in reality, for the greater good, you go with provocateur. It's just, he's provocateur, he's a slimy son of a bitch. So you learn about these characters, and that's fun. It's nice to re-engage with them, but it's a weird ham-fisted way of doing it. And then, to top it all off, the other side quest, which involves a really awesome character design and a cool character archetype in Yoko, she basically just reuses the vampire mansion. And she does the same thing that the vampire did in that, except it's for story reasons again, but it's the same setup in the same dungeon in the same whatever. So it doesn't help. So a lot of Bravely Second is just the second version of it. And it's not even retooled in a different way, like, say, Final Fantasy X-2. Like, they've reused assets. Like, I'm hearing an ambulance coming by, so I'm going to wait on it. You might hear it come by. Okay, it's gone. But anyway, so you're reusing that vampire's lair for the yokai den, so that you can talk about the story stuff. We've been through this before. We've been through the fairy lies and the shit. So a lot of this stuff is really retreading the same ground. That doesn't make it a bad game. It just makes it frustrating. And I think that's where some of the issues lie, because the gameplay is still the gameplay. And if you liked Bravely Default, you're going to love Bravely Second all the same, because it's more of the same. So it's like, all right, I get to use 10 more different unique skill sets, and I get to test them all and get to break the game that way. All of the stuff is kind of the same. right? The look, the feel, the style, like, it is a true sequel, for better or for worse. And I do hope that, like, they do bring this to Switch 2 just so that you have access, you know, because I do think that characters like Magnolia are nice to have, even if, you know, they aren't the old gang. There's, you know, Adia is still great, Tiz is still Tiz, and you is bleh. But Magnolia is worth watching because I just find her presence interesting, and you get to see a lot of the same people in an interesting light. So, I mean, would I recommend Bravely Second? Yes and no. Like, if you didn't even like the first one or just kind of got through it, you can skip it. But it does suck that that's kind of the vibe here, is that it is something you can ignore, and by and large that might be something Square does. I don't think they should. I think it's a disservice to both games because you don't have one without the other. You know, it would suck. But again, I don't know the sales of the remaster for Bravely Default, so I can't say whether they'd bring the second game or not, or if they have decided if they're gonna. It would be an easy enough transition, you would think. But whatever. I think they deserve to be a package deal, but I can understand if people really aren't as thrilled with it. So take that for what it's worth. Hopefully I did fine on kind of short notice. I knew this was coming, but I didn't have really any time to prep my usual, like, lists and, you know, talking points and stuff, so I had to go off the fly a little bit more. Because again, I'm recording this about a day later than normal, so, or a day earlier, excuse me. But whatever, it is what it is going to be. Next up is going to be When in Doubt, School Arc. Then Legend of Dragoon, Solty Rei, and then once we get into September, we're diving into summer anime stuff. So, of course, in between those episodes, I'm doing these spring and summer anime or discussions of all the stuff I'm watching. I've already watched a couple of parts of summer already. Some good, some really good, some goofy, but I'll get to more as I go. And what I have decided after Solty Rei, this is one I've been kind of putting off for a while, but I figured, fuck it, I'm just going to talk about it now that I can kind of put it in both the anime and gaming perspective. We'll be talking about Nier Automata. I've not talked about it at length. People who have watched my channel know that I've really been frustrated having tried playing it, and it being one of the few games I had to basically quit early. Shantae, I had to quit basically at the final fucking dungeon, so that's sort of But Bravely Default, I quit 70-some episodes into, or something like that, and ripped and just destroyed all of it because I was sick of it. So the anime came out, and I liked it. It was basically everything I liked that I didn't like about the game. So yeah, it gets to be I get to talk about the game and the anime at the same time. So yeah, that should be fun, and probably, if I do get comments at all, it'll probably be hate comments for hating the video game so much. But I have reasons as to why I didn't like my experience playing the game and why I liked watching it. Because Nier Automata is a much better movie or an anime than it is a video game. So sue me. But anyway, that's in September, so I've got months to prep for that. But as we've seen, who knows? That'll do for today, and I will talk to you guys next time. Citizen Strife, signing off.